And one of those days, in the process of wooing me, he told me something that, I should continue. He likes my intelligence and all that. That in fact, when I'm done with school, this is someone that is here to get into university, right? That when I'm done with university, that this is shop now where he's renting movies, that he will just give it to me. Then he will open another one and continue renting movies, a bigger one. And that time too. This is not therapy. This is not judgment. This is truth. Okay. Here, we peel back the layers, we sit with the pain, we confront the patterns, because sometimes what looks like bad character is just survival strategy, and what we call trauma is just a refusal to grow. Welcome to Trauma or Bad Character, the podcast that dares to ask the uncomfortable questions. Hi, sis.
Hello.
It's so good to have you.
Thank you.
I'm so giddy to have you here. I don't know why, but I'm quite excited. Thank you for being here.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so I just want us to jump right into a very important conversation.
Okay.
I've had this conversation with a guest before, and it was filled with so much data. It was filled with, a lot of data as to how environment can deprive you of your destiny or even delay you of your destiny. It was really packed up. But I want us to also have that conversation. I'm having it with you also as a female. And I also want us to come from a different angle because I feel like this is a very vast topic. When it comes to environment, I grew up in the city of Aba. And I remember being in secondary school and people used to make a lot of fun about Aba people. In fact, at some point, they were calling us Aba breads, so they just literally used to laugh at us. And they said we had Ibotic intonation and a lot of things. So the fact that we came from Aba, it didn't matter if your parents were rich or nobody cared. Just the fact that you came from that environment was already limiting. And I understand how environments can be such a limiting factor. And I believe you also have experiences with those things. Even, as a lady, these days on social media, people put up some things and other people are like, oh, it's a lie. But truthfully, people have different realities, and these realities can be different based on their environments. And so in this conversation, I want us to I know that it cuts across different phases, relationship or career, spirituality. But I want us to start from relationships, how environments can actually affect your relationship, especially as a woman. I don't know if you have any experiences, but I'm thinking back right now, and I'm remembering just after secondary school, there was this brother who was so interested in me. He wanted to marry me by all means. Had been talking about it even while I was in secondary school. And so he was running this small kiosk where they rent movies. They used to rent all these movies. You rent when we still had cassettes. So you rent the cassette and then you bring it back after you are done watching, you bring it back. So you basically just hire the cassettes. I used to go to a shop because I was teaching in a secondary school, a small primary and secondary school, these local schools. I was teaching there as an undergraduate and they were just paying me. I don't know if you can't remember my salary, whether it was 10,000 naira or something. So from his shop, I'll just go to the school. I'll come back, then I'll go back to my house. So sometimes when I come there, he'll just buy me snacks as the wife that he is potentially going to marry. Not that I had accepted, but he was still wooing me. And one of those days, in the process of wooing me, he told me something that, I should continue. He likes my intelligence and all that. That in fact, when I'm done with school, this is someone that is here to get into university, right? That when I'm done with university, that this is shop now where he's renting movies, that he will just give it to me. Then he will open another one and continue renting movies, a bigger one. And that time too, he was doing forex trading.
Oh.
So he was learning forex. In fact, there was even a time that his forex trading failed. He has collected money from people and he had to run away. So, but what I'm talking about is the mentality. And we were in the same Aba. the mentality that this young man was projecting to me. How can you be telling a young promising girl that I'll take over your film renting shop, your cassette film renting shop, and then after my university, and then you will now rent a bigger one and continue renting films. So, but that was the reality at the time. At the time, I wasn't, I wasn't meeting people who were far better than that. And that was because of the limiting environment. And so I'd like to start by asking you, do you think that environment can actually be, a deciding factor to how we even grow up thinking about relationships?
Yes, to some extent, environment can determine the kind of relationship you go into. Okay, so I remember I grew up in a very, in a very ghettoed environment. At some point, I think from 8 years, 7 to 8 years, we didn't stay there for a very long time. So really ghetto. So this is an environment where you see husband and wives fighting, boyfriends and girlfriends breaking bottles and all of that.
Yeah.
So when I moved to Abuja, I went to an environment that was similar to where I came from, So and I can remember that I intentionally needed a relationship that would protect me from, getting into that kind of relationship itself. And because of that, I went into a wrong relationship. So places you grow up from, your environment can also, in your relationship, have effects in your relationship. The kind of relationship you want to go into, the kind of people you meet, because there's this mentality you have growing up. So so it does.
I like that you said that you got into the wrong relationship because you were running away from what you had witnessed. And it's just so profound and deep and even really, really hurtful. Because also thinking back, I know, we see a lot of these things. We see a lot of, in the kind of environments that we grew up in. I mean, people laughed at us that we grew up in Aba when we were in school. But they were not wrong because of the environment. And even aside the Aba thing, which has turned out way better right now. I mean, things have changed. I know that. Even aside that, growing up in certain environments where people had certain mentalities, because you just said something about the environment where husband and wife fight, or they face me, I face you, and all of that. And I'm thinking, my God, children who witness these things, how do you think that it shapes them? Do you think we see a lot of them in the society? How do you think that they show up as people who come from these things? Because somebody might even be exhibiting certain characters and certain things, and they don't even know that this is where it is coming from. So how do you think that these things shape them, especially as women? How do you think that it particularly shapes women in choosing men, in accepting men in their lives?
I lived in a compound where husband and wife, they fight every day. I mean, from your house, you could hear them, swearing, you are crazy, saying a lot of bad things to each other. And I'm like, in my room, why did you guys get married in the first place? I don't even have a problem with them. They have a son. And this boy is just, I think, 5-6 years. But he knows what's happening, right?
Of course.
So I'm like, this boy is going to grow up with this kind of mentality into the society. I pity the woman it will end up with. It's going to become a generational problem.
Exactly.
If case is not taken, okay? So one day an incident happened. So I think someone dashed him money. I was sitting outside. I observed him and the mom. Someone gave him money, and I think the mom took it from him. It's a normal thing. Our parents do it. So the mom took it. I'm going to. So he was like asking the mom for the money, and the mother was like, I'm keeping it for you. I'm saving it for the things our mom do now. And he was like, give me my money. Like it became violent from where I was seated. I was like, give me my money now. Give me my money. I'm like, wow. He's already exhibiting what the dad do. So that's kind of, that kind of child growing up and coming into the society. So it's,
wow. Wow, that is really something. And these things replicate in every way possible. In fact, the more you talk, the more I begin to reflect on a lot of things. Even some of us who grew up in families or in societies, or rather communities, where the submission of a woman is overly emphasized on. Some of us grew up in local churches where a man and woman, husband and wife, will have an issue. The woman is to be blamed. Even if the man beats the woman and they bring it to church, they will still say, you know what, forget about it. Don't worry. You know that he's a man. And I think that this thing begins to influence the way that we choose the partners that we are with. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Okay, so sorry. You said, when you grow up in maybe let's say a church where when something goes wrong and the woman is to be blamed, as a lady, you grew up in that kind of church. When you of age and you want to, you always check for, does this man have this mentality of if something happens between us, I'll blame me, because of course you've seen women go through them.
Yes.
And at that early stage you'll be like, I don't want to go through this, so you will always look out for that. And sometimes this lead people to mistakes in marriages and relationships, because we are actually looking at what we are not supposed to look at in relationship, but because of where you're coming from, because you're trying to protect yourself from something you've seen somebody go through, and you don't want to go through it again. So
Okay, I want to go back to the story I told about that brother who wanted to basically build an empire of renting movies out with me. That's how I see it. Meanwhile, at that young age, I already had big dreams. So I'm thinking, I know that women who grew up in certain environments, even me that was not accepting of that, those environments, seeing those type of people, the same set of people, always asking you out, and people who did not really have visions, but they were admiring the fact that you had visions, always asking you out. It kind of just limits the way that you even view love and relationship. Do you think that there are women who are afraid of choosing certain levels of partners because of where they are coming from? So you're coming from a limiting environment, and I can really say that I've seen this amongst women who grew up in particular environments. So they tell you things like, a man he must not. In fact, I have even seen parents of people who grew up in that environment project these narratives. He doesn't have to have so much money. He doesn't have to have done PhD or masters. They project these things in us growing up, that no, the man that you need to marry does not need to have the world.
just accept him. Just
accept him as long as he's a child of God.
Thank you.
He's a born again brother. And I see that when we now come out of that environment, we are literally afraid. Like someone who is up there, when they try to approach you, you're seeing yourself already that you're a small person.
Because of where you're coming from.
Because of where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think it has a way of even, this energy have a way of even stopping certain people from coming to us.
You're very correct. Energy also, I don't know the word to use, but it is what you give out is what you get. Okay. Have I ever met a lady that left a certain environment, seeing people behave like that? I don't want people that behave like this. And come into the real world and still meeting those certain kind of people from that type of environment, but maybe in another form of, and all that. Yeah, so it has to do with your mentality. So you said something like, you meet someone that is there, you want someone that is there, and you meet that person and you feel like you are here. So you can't, that alone is already telling the person something. So that it will be hard for you to get that kind of relationship. Then you now mentioned that women are scared of, getting into relationship and all that. Personally, for me, because of where I come from, the kind of environment I grew up from, for the past 10 years of my life, place I grew up from, I always look for a man in a relationship, a man that is there, a man that is a leader, because I know where I'm coming from.
Yes.
So I always look for that in my relationship. So yeah, that's because of looking for that is because of my environment.
Yes.
So that has affected my personality. That has affected me as a person. So it takes the grace of God now and a descending spirit that I will not make mistake. Because of that reason, I will not make mistake to end up with the wrong person.
Yes.
Because you can have what you want and not what you need.
Yeah.
A lot of times we run after 80%. So we run after 20% and let go of 80%.
80%.
And when we have 20%, we cry and looking for 80%. So yeah, environment can just shape you into that kind of person that you want certain things. And because you want those particular kind of things, you now make mistakes.
Yes, exactly. I love that. And I'd like us to end this conversation by just helping women with one or two insights as to how you can overcome, this environment, to how you can overcome the limitation that environment gives you when it comes to relationships. Even for men, I think that men also go through the same limitations with their environment. So because you are coming from a particular type of environment, you are not looking out for a particular type of woman. But meanwhile, they might not even be your desired taste. So what is one thing that you can tell women, who are still in those type of environments that are limiting? What is one thing that you can tell them if they really want to break out of that environment?
First, you need to work on your mindset. You need to work on your mind. That's the first step. You can say you want something and you're still going back to what you used to do. You have to work on your mindset. Do things. This level of men that you want in your life, you have to fit into the picture of the kind of women they want in their life.
Exactly.
Let's say, for example, a man wants a good woman and you know for sure that you're a bad woman. You have to change from being a bad woman to becoming a good woman. Then you'll be able to attract this kind of men. So first of all, you have to change your mindset, change your character, and take it from there.
Okay, I really love that change of mindset. I think that it begins from there. I often say this: when you have finally overcome the traumas that are coming from your environment, your environmental cage and trauma, when you have finally overcome that, you need to continuously cleanse your environment. For me, I needed to continuously cleanse my environment, the people around me, the people I'm talking to. And at some point, I noticed that the men around me, even growing up, I had men who would come to me and say, I dreamt about you, Sister Chidima, that you are my wife. I would just say, my brother, it's not me you dreamt about, and I know that even for a lot of us, this has even told us and has made us, we didn't get married at the age age in quote, because society says that we should get married, because they are trying to see so that you don't repeat the same cycle. So just like she said, this mindset is very, very, very important. Sieve your mindset and don't be afraid to sieve your circle. Don't be afraid. People will call you proud. At some point, they will say, oh, Sister Nkechi, Sister Precious, you have changed, though. You are no more in the lost way. Or even if it's not like a religious background or maybe traditional background, they're like, you're no more a submissive woman. You're no more a good woman. You're not filled with pride. Don't worry. You are the one who know what you want. And just like she said, build yourself into the standard of the men that you also want. Because you can't be wanting, for example, to marry a man who is up there intellectually, even financially, and otherwise, who have trained their mindset to know that marriage is equal partnership. In marriage is not one person slaving for another person. It is equal partnership where the opinion of a woman counts. Because some of us grew up where the opinion of a woman does not count. So if you now want to attract a woman who believes that the opinion of a man counts, you will need to now start reshaping your mind. Read books, interact with people in your circle. Make sure you're interacting with women who understand it. And let me tell you, don't be afraid of going for what you want. Don't you be afraid. If you want it, if you can imagine it, if you can see it, you can get it. So go start cleansing your environment. Don't let your environment be a limitation to you.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
Okay, just to add, be obsessed with wanting to do better or go higher.
I love
be
that.
obsessed with going higher. I remember when I came into Abuja, I first started in an apartment where I had to pay, was it 30K as rent. I knew that place was not for me. Everything there, I was obsessed with, going higher. And I could remember people telling me, Precious, you like big things. I say, yes, I like big things because I know I don't want to be here.
Yes.
So be obsessed with living, even if you move from here to there, after 1 year, 2 years, move from there to another place. Be obsessed until you get to that level that you want to be.
Yes.
Just be obsessed with moving from one environment to the other, because don't allow yourself to be stuck in one environment. If you get into an environment, because at the end of the day, environment has a lot to do with you as a person, especially as a woman. You wake up and you see this person behaving like this, one way or the other, it will affect you. Except maybe you've guided your heart or guide your mindset in a level, or you've read books to a certain level, and you have a certain understanding. But if you're not there yet, be obsessed with moving from one environment until you get to the perfect place. Yes.
I love it so much, Precious. Thank you so much. Imagine that I was not obsessed. My dear viewers, I would have been renting movies somewhere in Aba now. So please, you better be obsessed. Grow. You deserve it and you can get it. Thank you for watching Trauma or Bad Character Podcast. I'll see you in the next episode. Keep watching. Bye.